the 757th week of January. Close, almost there. Tour Front is still coming through with the best in sport. My name is Jay, and I am with Chuck. Chuck, what up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I think January sahamba kahle. Nina wantong ngiyadonsa January. December was too short for you guys. January yadonsa. What's going on?
Chuck, by this time, December was already 2 weeks done. So it was the middle of January. Somehow, it makes sense. But Chuck, football back in full swing, particularly local leagues, PSL also in CAF. And we're going to talk about CAF. But first of all, PSL, we saw the log leaders, Orlando Pirates. No, they were not the log leaders, in fact. The log leaders because at Christmas and crossing over into the new year. Aye. Okay, let's say. We saw a top-of-the-table clash between Orlando Pirates, who started the day in second with the opportunity to go first above Sundowns, and Sekhukhune, who had played midweek to a draw, and the two of them at Peter Mukaba, played out to a draw, right? Pirates missing out on an opportunity to go above Sundowns again, as I mentioned. You look at this game, you look at this result, Chuck, is that an opportunity missed for Pirates, or is that one where you take the point against a team who are also flying high, sort of, in the PSL?
They were flying high, and then they hit a bump, and they've slowed down tremendously. So I think you look at that with disappointment if you're Pirates, because Sundowns did the business, and now the race is definitely on. They are, in fact, they surpassed you, went into first, which tells you how lively it is at the top. It's not a matter of which our points buffer will still help us in terms of the chase. So the fact that Sundowns played first turned up the pressure on Pirates, and it's a question of, can you respond? What do you do? We've won. So I think definitely, I mean, you can respect the fact that this is the very same opposition that Pirates failed to beat. In fact, they were beaten by Sekhukhune in the first two rounds of the PSL. So yeah, you can respect that, but they're not that side. They started well, but they, like I said, they've slowed down. They aren't as good as they were as far as I'm concerned. But I think, Jay, they did try. For me, it echoes Ndabale of that big squad and the rotations. It's worked so far. I mean, we can't all of a sudden rubbish everything because of one negative result. But I've always wondered, when you've got such a big squad and so many options, when things don't quite go right, how many people can you rely on? Because I think if you've got, as some coaches tend to say, I just want 18 to work with, or maybe 20 or whatever, I know what I'm looking at, like 5 different problems. But if you're a big squad and Lloyd's not firing and Law's not firing, Lona's not on form, like you've got like twice the problems to figure out on that particular game day, I think. But I think, like we've seen in Bucks camp, it's now or never for Pirates. I think that's the idea for them. If we don't pip them now, and they've built themselves that up, well, they had that points buffer. Now it's much smaller than that. So you definitely go away from that game as a Pirates fan thinking it's a chance lost. Now, Connor, we're going to the new year on a high, and this just does put things into perspective. Overhauling Sundowns is not going to be easy. And so if you drop points on game one of the new year, Salbanzim.
Yeah, Chuck, I think it's a tough game for Orlando Pirates to come back with. Sekhukhune, as much as you do mention the fact that they've hit a speed bump in their chase for a top 4 finish, maybe the crown as well, because you look at the PSL table and there's only 6 points between number 1 Sundowns currently and number 8 Polokwane City. So it's very tight, it's very congested, and it definitely looks like we have a title race, right? And so in that context as well, that means the gaps between the teams are non-existent, right? And Sekhukhune are still up there. Disappointing midweek when they came back with the loss against Stelis, I believe.
Yes.
And then playing at home, the other thing was the fact that they were playing at 3 p.m., 3:30 kickoff at Peter Mukaba, like in Limpopo, and I generally believe that took an effect. After the game, I saw Makula dead on the floor. Guys were strewn on the floor, just like as though like a bomb had gone off, you know. But also, that also puts into question for me, what were guys doing during the break, right? Number one, the conditions are the conditions, and it is tough to play in those conditions. But also, and that's why I speak to the fact that it's Pirates' first game back. They don't yet have their football legs under them. Sekhukhune did have the midweek game, and that does make a difference, right? Match fitness is not quite the same thing as preseason or the training that you do by yourself or with the team prior to actual live matches. And even on this Sekhukhune side, if I just speak on the fitness a bit, like I'm so disappointed. Like I was looking at Keleto Makhalwa, and I was like, my brother, you
not the
you,
shape
you
for
enjoyed
football.
Christmas far too much. You enjoyed Christmas far too much. And yeah, so that I just need to see a higher level of professionalism from players, but it didn't affect the team and the performance of the team. And where Sekhukhune absolutely shone was in defense, right? The goalkeeper had a very good outing, but I also thought the centre backs had a good outing throughout the match. Cardoso came to the party, particularly in the second half. How he was able to keep up with Umbutuma in one action, which was surprising for a man who's turning 38 this year. But that just goes to show that Sekhukhune came to play, but also that's where their strength lies in defense. On the Pirates side, to just answer your question around the size of the squad and where do you look to get the results. I actually think it does work in favor of Pirates, right? Because it's very hard to get all those players not in form at the same time. You'll at least get one or two of them playing at their level, at the highest level. That, well, if this doesn't work out, you've got options, and that's why you build a deep squad so that you can have options, right? And in that game against Sekhukhune, when Rele came on, when Apollos came on, the tempo upped for Orlando Pirates. Rele and Apollos had a good influence on the game. Although there were times where I'm just like, man, I don't know if Wadu is overdoing things, because there was a point where Apollos and Rele find themselves in a double pivot, in the double pivot. Because in a double pivot means they were playing there, but in the double pivot meaning they were next to each other there. And I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, well, if Apollos has the ball and Rele is next to him and they're on their side of the center circle, where's this ball supposed to go? To whom is it supposed to go? And what are they supposed to do when they get it? And that's the other problem for Pirates. Again, and maybe we're prisoners of the moment. Mabasa scored for Stellies, right? And I'm watching that. I'm watching Mahopa, and number one, the ball is not coming in from the wings. And I'm just like, well, on some level, I get that he wants to play as a false nine, and that's not ideal to try find somebody in the box. But at the same time as well, which is the same thought I had when I saw Sundowns in the middle of the week, and they were playing with Tiba. That you've got a tall presence in the box. Why do you not just like put the ball in the box? I didn't see crosses coming in for Mahopa, you know. And I think that is something you can ask him to do. That, okay, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, let's try have you in the box and let's try bring crosses into the box. But I didn't see that. So I watch Pirates, and when they do play with someone like a Mahopa, and he's gonna be the substitute is going to be Mbutuma, who is more in the box but also still plays outside of the box. Well, where are goals supposed to come from? You know, again, if Rele is deep, if Apollos is deep, and Apollos is roaming all over, who is the chief goal scorer in this situation? And I was watching that at Pirates and trying to figure out, like, well, who's the goal supposed to come from? The most likely man was Rele, but again, if he's deep, that's not going to happen, you know. So in that sense, I do think they just need to tweak some things, and Pirates do need goals from their strikers, whether it's Mahopa, whether it's Mbutuma, whether it's De Jong when he finally gets onto the pitch. But in terms of the result, Chuck, we'll talk about Arsenal, right? I think it's like the Arsenal situation. There's an anxiety about this is the season. This is it. You must do it right now. And you had the advantage. You could go 5 points ahead if you win your 2 games in hand. And now you've, quote unquote, dropped points against Sekhukhune. But again, tough opponent in the PSL. And on a day like that, afternoon in Polokwane, and this is your first game back after a long layoff, I think overall you take the point.
Yeah, I take the point, but not gonna angazi ukuthi no fun play on AFCON. It was too long of a layover break. I mean, we do have a mid-season break in the PSL, but it's not as long as this all the time. So I think I was saying maybe in some quarters or with some players, the issue of professionalism was at a fault in terms of, are you still sharp? Are you sharp enough? But I think with a squad that big, if you're not sharp enough, there's someone else who's Odlala. But the thing for me, Jay, about the base was that we're constantly seeing not unknown, but untested combinations. As for Makaula Simfire Nombata. Okay, they did it last season, but as Simfire for Oadu. As for let's put Mahopa up front, let's leave Rele and Apollos on the bench. And it's like we're always changing things, and you always set up differently for different teams.
Yeah, Chuck, also. Dino, you need to work for your money at the London Pirates.
So I think because of that's why I'm saying that it's quite cool. It's like, okay, this week Rele played well, but we don't need him for the next game against Sundowns. Mara the next week Sumfuna foot. Is he like, how do you manage a big squad? I'm not a coach, but in my mind, I'm like, it must, when it's going great, when it's going right, great. But when things need to be sorted out, how do you do that? Is it a matter of instilling belief? Do you play another player? Do you change formations? Because there are too many options, I think, sometimes, and it does become confusing. But this is me, obviously, speaking about the one result. It remains to be seen what happens in game number 2 before we press panic buttons or speak about formations. But for me, it didn't quite work out for Pirates, and not the best thing in the world.
And that game number 2, Chuck, is Sundowns on the weekend.
We've got Snamakanda with Sundowns. We'll figure it out. The very same Sundowns, they win their PSL match midweek. But on Friday, when they played their CAF Champions League game against Al Hilal at Loftus Versfeld, it looked like when Tebogo Mokoena, the screamer we're looking for the entire AFCON, finally went in. You're like, that's what he has.
Like I saw somebody else say this, like, where was this during the AFCON? Can I just point out that Tebogo Mokoena has scored 2 goals for Sundowns this season. The one goal was a header he bundled over against Orlando Pirates in the MTN8. That was his second goal. That's the first time he's done it even for Sundowns. He's not doing it like every other weekend for Sundowns and then Ama fans were final, like, yeah, those coaches. He keeps trying from distance and it hasn't happened this season. And it finally happened against Al Hilal.
And at that point, it looked like, okay, points are secured. It's comfortable, especially after having drawn with MC Alger. So you thought to yourself, no, we did. Nah, Jordan, we did. Who's Rolan's team?
It was Rolan's team, Alger.
Alger, yes. You think to yourself, you want to then obviously take the next opportunity to grab points. But Al Hilal came back. The game ends 2-2. And the fans were frustrated. Now I'm flipping back 1 month. Sundowns mad at the wrong person. Why all this heat around this particular man? Because I think his name came to the limelight since the departure of Orulani.
That's
and
exactly
ever since then.
That's exactly why. Like, you asked me the question, like, why are Sundowns fans mad at this man? It literally is because the report that everyone got was the reason Rulani left is because there was friction. They could not see eye to eye. It was a question of power, and the man who won out was Flemingberg. And when Rulani leaves, a team that he has built in his own image, and Flemingberg is the man who is in charge. He's now picking his coach, right? We no longer have the continuation from Pito to the 3 wise men to Rulani. So now it's a new dispensation, and the overload of that is Flemingberg. He's picking his coach. He's buying the players. So what you see at Sundowns, we are to conclude, is at the feet of the sporting director, Flemingberg. So, and it's so funny to me, Chuck, because I was thinking about this, that other fan bases, do they know who their sporting directors are? Like in the PSL, like, do other fan bases know who their sporting directors are?
Do we even have them?
That's the question.
Yeah,
right? That is the question.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, unfortunately for Flemingberg, it feels as though the Sundowns fans are too informed, and that came, of course, from the reports right after the split, because I think even prior to that, I'll probably maybe say like 30% of the fan base knew that the sporting director at Sundowns is Flemingberg. But after Rulani left, and then when you've seen what you've seen, they know exactly who he is, and they lay the blame of everything that is not going quite right at his feet.
And as you say, with football is like a game of what have you done for me lately. It's best Mazi when he got the signings from Apollo. Oh, he's got the scouting team, Sanawa Wanba, and we knew of him then. Up until he ruined a good thing. Or Rulani, and as we would figure out, Rulani was pushed out because of certain signings that he wanted or players that Flemingberg didn't quite side with, and that was the story. But I think, Jay, this speaks to the culture that we've had, and I probably can't everywhere else in the world, but I've got my eye more on South African football in terms of course, missiles are being thrown on the pitch, there's a police presence, there's always someone who has to pay in, I was about to say in blood, but in some sort of abuse. And when you contrast that to other places in the world, they've got their placards, they've got their chants. They will probably hurl what's the word I'm looking for? Expletives. I was say expletives, like sounds wrong. In this direction, and okay, fine. That's also the other side of the line in terms of just general decor as a fan. But the fact that respect him and his job, because the reason why I bring up that point is that I feel like we feel like football clubs always a whole lot more, because can't he get his job wrong? Because that's what does happen in certain jobs. Try as you may, sometimes you make the wrong decision. And let's for instance say the Rulani departure is a wrong decision. Oh, I'm telling Amans, were you not at the Champions League final? Is that not something to look back at and say, he got some things right? Did you not bring in Ribeiro?
I don't think that is something you fall back to, right? In the moment of frustration, because as well, like Ribeiro, right? And the more I've seen this season play out, like the more I actually recognize how big of a role Ribeiro had at Sundowns. Because Hambile, and now it's down to the coach and what he's doing. You're like, you don't really know. Whereas, again, as I keep saying, like Ribeiro was the 10, he was the right wing, he was the creative player, he was the goal scorer. You know, that is absolutely one of, if not the absolute best talent we've ever seen in the PSL, and that made a major difference. It's no coincidence that the man scored the goal he did against the Orlando Pirates, and then he went and repeated the same thing at the Club World Cup. So you remove that, now it's okay, do it again, right? And that's a tough thing to do, because you don't tend to just replace those kind of players, and you don't just tend to find those kind of players. But the ire of Sundowns fans is around the fact that the team doesn't look dominant, right? Even in the run to the Champions League final, there were only 3 wins throughout that campaign. There were a lot of draws, and then there were like some losses mixed in there. And then you lose to a Pyramids in the final. But then coming into this season, Chuck, as I mentioned, Sundowns are on 29 points after 14 games. You go back, just last season, if not the season before that, and we've come to become accustomed to Sundowns. At this stage, they're already on like 40 points. You know, after 15 games, you expect they have 14 wins and a draw, 43 points. So 29 is what are we living in? Are we living in 2010, like in 2012? And you are right, Chuck, in the sense that as fans, right, we tend to grow a sense of God-given rights to performances. When we've experienced success for a extended period of time, what we think and what we've come to become accustomed to, as I'm saying, and when we've grown fat, this is what it is. This is what it's always supposed to be. And we don't want to think about the fact that all football teams go through cycles. All of them. Like however successful they are, you can win 11 league titles in a row, 8 in a row, 9 in a row. I've seen with Juventus, Bayern Munich, PSG, Sundowns. At some point, that has to change, right? It does change. Although when it does, it's a hard adjustment. But especially when you feel as though internally sabotage happened to create that. It's not a matter of, Chuck, that Sir Alex Ferguson retired. He was old and he was moving on. It's not a fact that a golden generation of players also got old and just moved on, and then now you have to rebuild. It's the fact that you had him there. Right, you had the golden boy in terms of coaching after Pito. What sheer luck that you're gonna lead into like Erulani, and then he gets you to a semi-final the one season. He changes up his football, gets to another semi-final because he feels that's the way to do it. And then you let go of him and not give him a chance to try finish the job. And while he's trying to figure that out in Africa, he's absolutely lapping the field in the PSL. So when you go away from that, if you make the choice to go away from that, then the expectation is, well, you need to perform the thing that you believe the guy you let go of and the players that you are pushing out the door could not do. So when it changes to this effect, Chuck, you are mad. But I have to side with you in terms of the behavior is just completely wrong.
Yeah.
You are also right, Chuck, in saying asingathuka bantu, that's crossing a line, right? But rather than a physical confrontation, rather you pull a zap sign than a physical confrontation. Rather like, you saying you don't know what you're doing and like, get out of my club. Then physically confronting like someone, like there's a boundary, and that boundary should not be crossed. And I say this as a Sundowns fan, like Sundowns fans have actually exuded some embarrassing behavior at times, because they pelted Peter Msimani when he was coach of Mamelodi Sundowns, prior to him going on to win multiple leagues.
Had to leave with
and then when he delivered the star, Chuck, in everything that he did, he comes back with Al Ahly. Yes, he's a rival coach, but again he moved on to further his career. He didn't say anything bad about Sundowns at that point. He just moved on in his career. And even in his goodbye letter, he expressed love for the club. And then he comes back with Al Ahly and you are pelting his bus. Like, what kind of behavior is that? So when I saw that, unfortunately, it's not unexpected, but it's crossing the line, and that should not be tolerated anyway in our football.
Yeah, I think the guy saw the chance and was like, how am I going to go viral? How am I going to trend? And it was the wrong decision, because Oyambona, he's the eye of your frustration, but you don't have to do something about it. Now, Oyambona, it's like, Nasepole, he's just got a hat trick. Do I kick him or do I mark him? You don't always have to do what he lets his intrusive thoughts
he really did. Hey, he really absolutely did.
So, we condemn that kind of behavior, because we don't need that. We were saying, if fans are coming back, people are enjoying football again, this is not the part that we enjoy. This is not the part that we've come out to do, because when you come across said player or said coach in your midst, in your presence, and you get to maybe shake hands or say hi or whatever, is a privilege because those are the stars of the thing that we like to watch, and that is football. So might not be the star, but he's a catalyst of some sort, and it makes you feel a particular way. But I mean, now he's trying to turn things around. Look, we don't know what he had Rolani State. Science suggests that things would have continued the same, right? But also, what you did say that sometimes players are getting old. Maybe things could have, maybe instead of 29 points, you're at 35. I mean, we'd be happy with that. But I think change of coaches, players getting old as well, has some factor. But that's not how we do it.
I'll tell you that in this particular game against Al Hilal, the blame should absolutely land on the players' feet, because you've got Brian Leon, who scored in his debut midweek, but then he's given a cutback on the edge of the box and he skies it. Paid 60 million for you, my brother. You know, Basadine, he comes in for Tatos Mia, 19-year-old, and the chatter has been Basadine is not playing. Okay, you are on, and then you pass the opponents in your box, and for the equalizer just after, as you say, that the home corner screamer. And Mamelodi Sundowns played actually well, Chuck, up until the third level. They were easily playing through any block or any press by Al Hilal. But when they got into the final third, and the coach was visibly frustrated, talking about this out of the game, that they create chances but they can't take them. And again, it's like the Bafana game against Cameroon. For me, I'm like, when players out there are not converting the chances that they are taking, not where you're looking at them, it's like, man, this game plan is stifling this team. They cannot create anything because the way that they have their shape and the way that they've been marshaled out there just doesn't work. But it works, and then they're in the position to succeed, and they're the ones who are messing it up. I don't know how you look at the coach. I don't know how you look at the sporting director. In that game, in particular against Al Hilal, Topi was visiting Ama branches, and he was giving messages from the players, and he said he's going to take messages back to the players, and he wants to hear what the ground forces are feeling and thinking. And I don't know, I hope Sundowns fans were able to say to him how they feel about the sporting director, about the coach. And I'm curious to see, did he actually take that on board, or is he just fulfilling a PR job? It will be interesting to see. Chuck.
Yeah.
Interesting times. In the Premier League, because we go back a 2 weekends, right? And it is the Manchester derby, and it is Carrick who's at the wheel, and Manchester United play Manchester City off the field. Maybe that is hyperbole, but it was close to that. 2-0, comfortable 2-0 win by Manchester United, and that one Arsenal fans are celebrating. Thank you, United. You need your friends to help you out to try win your first league title in over 20 years. But the problem is, United were due to visit Emirates the following weekend. And Arsenal have had a very good record against United in recent times. So the expectation was, you beat City, we beat you, we extend our lead. But those United boys had a completely different idea, because they tend to spoil Arsenal parties over the years. And they did that again at the Emirates. 3-2 win by the Red Devils at the log leaders, and dealing Arsenal their first loss in the Premier League at home this season. The first time they've conceded 3 goals since December 2023. How about those Red Devils?
I saw a post, I think on Friday, about United winning in black away at Arsenal. And I'm like, how many times does this actually happen? So when I go to the post, 3 different versions.
There's a vivid memory of Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, right?
This thing in black.
In black. And then there's the black kit with that blue V pattern, I think, Abu Shising Park, Nabo Fletcher. Then there's which other black kit is? But anyway, there's another black kit, and then this one. So that post proved to be true. Jay, I did not see that one coming, especially when you look at the first half. It won't This is not Manchester City, because Arsenal were in control. Arsenal were purring. And I must ask, like, who's counting these things? What team? Number of touches in the opposition box. United 0, Arsenal 9. Like, we don't need these stats. Show us, like... But either way, I think any other stat that would have pulled up at that point in time had Arsenal as being dominant. It's just good they didn't get that cutting edge when it came to the final third or that final pass. There was a cross that was... Who hit it that point blank save by Ulemans? Was it... it was not Trossard. Who was it? Zubimendi, I think, was the...
Oh, yeah,
yes,
Zubi.
with the
Zubi.
Because I think this is the 3rd time he's played United and hasn't won any of those games. Unless did he play the first round?
I don't think he did.
But yeah, so when I've seen him against United, like, okay, I know of this name. I want to see what can he do. but there's time to redeem himself and prove me wrong. But overall, Jay, I think the belief. I don't know what happens with United. Like, they played football, they took their chances and looked dangerous when they did have those chances presented to them. Obviously, mistake at the back by Zubimendi. It's pounced upon by Mbeumo, who could not do these things for Cameroon because, like, where is this Mbeumo? Because they needed someone who's going to be lethal like that. So I think Ukarik has finally put in Kobe Mainu, has found a place for Bruno to play in the pocket without many responsibilities. He can just press when he gets the ball, dictate terms. Ahmad is not doing too much work tracking back. So there's a bit more freedom in that particular side. And it caused someone like a Mateus Cunha his spot because now he's on the bench. But he's understood that this is the side that's going to give us the best chance to win. He comes on, obviously, and scores the winner. But yeah, I think that is an impressive performance by Manchester United, given the fact that you're playing away, given the fact that Arsenal looked so good, given that fact that I think this season, if Arsenal score first, they don't lose. That's the stat. They don't lose. So for them to come back against this side that looked that good with arguably, they're almost back to full fitness, except for like a couple of players, to do that, 3 goals against Gabriel and Saliba. I think that's special. So shout out to them. But you as an Arsenal fan, how are you feeling about that points buff? Are you thinking it's time to panic? No, man, there's still enough in the tank to saying last week, run, crawl, roll, do whatever, as long as you make it to the championship.
Chuck, you can't start panicking when you weren't overly confident to begin with. Me, this Arsenal fan, and you know this, like you've known me for years, and you've been right next to me when Arsenal have been at the top or had a lead or looked like they are close to or challenging for yet another league title. I say to you 2 things. 1, let's wait for the Christmas period. And then secondly, let us wait for the new year. Let's wait for January, February, March. Let's get into April. Let's see where Arsenal are in April. And for me, I will believe that Arsenal are league winners when they've actually won the league. When there is zero mathematical chance for anyone to come back on them. Because, Chuck, you know what? Like, and I know it's used as a fodder for banter by rival teams, right? But this is not one of those banter points which is just like maybe exaggerated. Arsenal really are experts in blowing leads, in being the elephant at the top of the tree, just waiting like for the branch to crack under them and fall over, for bottling, right? And I've seen this picture multiple times before where Arsenal are at the top and they're looking likely, because this season, Chuck, I mean, there have been so many opportunities for Arsenal to extend that lead, right? And I can count so many games. The last minute draw against Sunderland, the last minute loss against Aston Villa, you're playing against 10-man Chelsea for 45 minutes and you end up with a draw there. You have the results go the way they do for City, and you've got the opportunity at home against Liverpool, who are not great, and you can't score a goal. The following weekend, same thing. United beat City, and you've got an opportunity to go to a Forest, who are around there in the relegation zones, can't score a goal. And now you are in a position against a team you've beaten multiple times, and you absolutely need this one to just settle the nerves, right? Because you don't want to go 3 games without a victory, and this is then what has happened. And these things happen to Arsenal historically, but also with this team, as I've said, they don't yet know how to win. These things are gonna happen, right? And they're gonna have to fight through these things. They're gonna have to get over matches like this. They're gonna have to get over situations like this. They're gonna have to hear the noise. It's there. Hear the noise, feel the pressure, and still find your footing to be able to push through and to surge ahead. The thing about a buffer, though, Chuck, is this is why you have a buffer, so that you can afford some matches and results like this where you can stumble but not completely fall. If this snowballs, then it's a problem, right? You had 7 points, you could have had 11, you could have had 15 even, but now you have 4. And if you take a step back and you ask the question, at the end of January, how would you feel about a 4-point buffer, a 4-point advantage over your closest rivals? You take that. You take that like in a heartbeat. But it's different. I always say it's different the way things happen, right? Like if you build up a 4-point lead in the last 2 weeks, it's very different when you are coming from behind versus you were and could have been even further ahead, and now the 4-point lead is actually a lead that has shrunk. Then psychology comes into things, and it's a different scenario altogether. But again, Chuck, you are professionals. You are trying to win the league. You finished the second 3 times in a row. That must mean something. That must inspire you. And you look around, and there's an opportunity in this league, as it is currently constructed, when you look at your closest rivals, to go and win the whole thing. You need to be able to take this one and get over it, and then go on about your merry way to try win the league once again. And again, Chuck, it's Manchester United. It's Manchester United, right? It's a big game. It's almost like a derby game. It's a rivalry game. These things happen in these matches, and you saw them against Manchester City. It is new manager bounce, but also as I said to you under Amarim, Chuck, and which showed up for me in this game, Manchester United have stars. They have nuclear weapons all over the place, and 3 shots on target and 3 goals. These things tend. I mean, Dogu again, another week, another Dogu. And the thing about Dogu, right, Chuck, is boneheaded in terms of like his football IQ and his football intelligence, but he's an athlete. And Manchester United created chaos because why is Dogu running through the middle? Like, where is he making his runs from? Who is supposed to be tracking him? Those things matter in terms of and a team like an Arsenal who are set up tactically right to the T. You go into those games with an expectation that this is what they're going to do and this is how we're going to counter them. When you have Patrick Dogu, is he the left back? Is he the left wing? Is he now the striker? Is he a false 9? What is happening? That kind of chaos, it destabilizes even the best the best managed teams. Like even the teams who you expect that they have the great shape or the great tactics. And it happened. And when he unleashes a shot like that, what can you do? When Cunha unleashes a shot like that, what can you do? You know. And as I'm saying, in terms of the star players, Chuck, like the Bruno Fernandes' involvement in the Dogu goal, the way he has balance, the way he's managing to control that ball while he looks like he's falling over, and is able to bring it to Dogu, or even the goal Yaga Cunha where Sheshko is able to win his duel against the centre back. Bruno takes it, he shifts into space, he gives it to Mainu. Small spaces, right? Mainu takes just 2 touches, and it's on to Cunha, and Cunha turns and he unleashes that. Sometimes you look at that and you go like, you know what?
Because I mean, I think Bruno had an interview and it was detailing how every kind of player around him wants different kind of services. Konofuna over the top, Konofuna to feed, Konofuna Mawantu, Konofuna on the edge of the box. And for a guy who knows his players, I think he did well in terms of servicing those guys. My concern with Arsenal, Jay, is the fact that even before the goal, there was some shakiness there at the back. Luckily, Paula, very, very easy for a team that's dominant in that moment. Like Nakona, the pressing wasn't even that great. It was Mboemo, it was Amadi, it was Bruno at most. Maybe you can add a Kobe Mainu from time to time. But Paula Latlaka very easily. You think to yourself, what's happening at the back? Arsenal are always solid. Arsenal are comfortable playing the ball out from the back in most times, especially with this team that's playing a mid-block, allowing you to play. But as soon as 1 or 2 players creep into that particular formation, then there are mistakes. So I was wondering to myself, what's happening? Because then there were those mistakes, we scored, and then Arsenal sort of was shell-shocked, and they sort of stopped playing. So I wonder, are they overthinking things? Which makes me want to ask you this question. Do you think this side is built to chase? Would you be happy every other, like what's happening now with Sundowns and Pirates, that every win gets you above your opponent, if you can do that, obviously. Do you think that situation plays out better for Arsenal versus like a points buffer? Because I don't understand why, if you've got a goal lead and you're dominating the game, why are these mistakes creeping out in your game? Like, as much as I don't quite rate to be meant to be as good as I think most people say he is, he's tired. He doesn't do that every other week.
It's pressure, Chuck. That is pressure because they play differently in the Champions League. In the Champions League, as yet, there's no pressure, right?
Yeah.
Still in the league phase. We'll see what happens in the knockout. But as you mentioned, as you detailed at the start of the game, Arsenal were all over Manchester United, and United looked like they had no answers. As soon as the mistake happens and Arsenal concede, they were a totally different team. How did that? There wasn't a tactical adjustment from Manchester United that precipitated that reaction from Arsenal, right? It was the nature of where the game had gone. And even when Cunha scores, I knew in the moment that Arsenal are not coming back in this one, because they'd done as much as currently the capacity of this team is to chase, right, and to react to that adversity in the moment in front of their home crowd. And they'd spent it to get to 2-2. So when Cunha marches up the other end and he does that, it's like, oh, that was a gut punch, like to the team, to the organization, to the fandom in the stadium, watching on TV. But Chuck, do I think this team is built better to chase? No, I don't. I don't think they're built better to do either one of these things.
They just need to win and learn it.
We've seen them chasing, right? We saw them chase against Manchester City and, like, yes, the draw against Aston Villa. In any other season, you get that kind of run and you win it, right? But they didn't. The facts are that they didn't. Against Liverpool last season, every time Liverpool did open the door, Arsenal dropped points in the subsequent game, so we can't say that they are better suited for that, because we've seen them not actually chase down anyone in that position. Now you have the buffer again, as in the first of the 3 second place finishes in a row. How do you respond? In either way, in either direction, Chuck, there's pressure that they need to respond to. There is a cometh the hour, cometh the man. They need to find the man within themselves, and they need to pull up the big boy pants and just go and do it, right? You're going to have nights like these again, chalk it off to a bad night. But when they are consecutive, it's 3 games now without a win, then panic station set in, because you're going to hear it from the fan base as well online, and anxiety is going to start creeping into that Emirates stadium. And it is the duty of those players to be able to overcome all of that and go and win the league title.
I mean, I saw Arteta making 4 subs at once, and I was like, you don't see that every day, but he's looking for a result. He has to win this game because he gets a chance to maintain or extend that points gap. So things are happening. You hope, if you're Arsenal fan, that the rot stops here, because it's draw, and loss. You don't want to drop any other points, because all of a sudden now City can win a Premier League game. Aston Villa beat Newcastle, who were looking decent themselves. Right. So pressure's on. If Arsenal, I think if Arsenal want to win the league, they can't drop any more points up until, I think, mid of Feb. For me, it's a tough ask. There are decent Premier League teams that we do say, from time to time they do surprise you. If they don't drop any more points until mid Feb, as much as the history suggests that don't bet on Arsenal, they should be the ones that you put your hands on, because City have found a way to win, but they've got an injury crisis. I think Aston Villa, I don't think they'll run the course. They're back in the hunt now, but I think it favors Arsenal. But they are, as most fans say, only Arsenal can beat Arsenal. So if they don't show up, then the league is up for grabs.
Yep, there are some tough games ahead for Arsenal. The derby is coming up soon. I know Chelsea is not too far into the future. We'll see how they perform. We'll see if the rest of the chasing pack are able to catch up to Arsenal and resign them to another second place finish. But of course, the Gunners will hope that is not the case. But they have to step up. And whether they do that or not, we will be here to talk about that. We'll also be continuing our chats around the PSL, which looks like we have a title race in that one. And of course, continue to follow what the South African teams are doing in CAF interclub competitions. Shout out to Kaizer Chiefs as well, who won away to Zesco this past weekend. That is it from 2 Upfront. If you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Please follow us across all social media platforms. Like our content, comment in the comment section on YouTube, send us messages on social media, and on social media, our pages. You can find us under the handle of @2UpFrontPod. I am @J_Mzulu. Chuck is at Chuck2Up. Like Manchester United. Hello, goodbye.
What United did to Arsenal was pour some water on the title charge. See you next week for more sports.